My slide here. All right, let's restart this. Welcome to Hidden Technology in the Home. This is a CEDIA professional development course. If you are an interior designer, an architect, or a builder and are looking for CEUs, we'll collect your information at the end of this course and provide you your credits, which is great. But my hope is that you're really here because we're going to share a lot of cool ways that we can hide technology in the home. Just a little bit about me. My name's Jen Mallett. I'm the founder of a company called Level Up Automation, and we are smart home integrators. So we specialize in essentially taking all of the different technology pieces, working with interior designers and architects and builders and homeowners and figuring out how do we design these systems so that they're easy to use, they do not take up too much space in your home, and you're able to really maximize the enjoyment of the product that you have. So if you look at technology in the home, there really are a lot of different advancements with energy and climate, lighting, entertainment, and security. And we'll touch upon a couple of those today in terms of, well, how do you camouflage or conceal or consolidate this technology so that it is not so visually present within the architecture of a home. And we're fortunately specialists at doing that. A little bit before we get into the presentation around our mission is to be trusted advisors to consumers and business partners as all of this technology continues to change. We operate in New England, Maryland, Virginia, Ohio, Louisiana, and Florida currently. We have a couple more markets that we're opening up as well this year. A little bit about CEDIA. CEDIA is a nonprofit organization, and it stands for Custom Electronics Design and Installation Association. I know that's a little bit of a mouthful, but if you've ever wondered, are there people that are specialists in all of this technology? This is the organization, this is the nonprofit organization that companies like ours are part of, and we have over 3,700 members globally, and we operate all over the world supporting members. This is an IDCEC approved course, as I mentioned at the top of the call, and if you provide your credentials at the end of this course, we'll make sure that you get registered for your CEU credit. All right, let's get into the thick of it. So our learning objectives today really are just to understand the concept of hiding technology, understanding really there's different types of technology that really can be hidden in plain sight. We'll talk about how to hide TVs, speakers, cameras, lighting control systems, things like that that are visually present in most spaces. We'll talk a little bit about the different techniques we use. There are three. Essentially, it's camouflage, concealment, and consolidation, and we'll go into more depth about those tactics in a few slides. We'll talk a little bit about some of the advantages of hiding technology, and then in some cases, there are some disadvantages and choices that people need to make when they are hiding technology in the home, particularly as it relates to network signal or other type of signals that need to make their way through walls and in closets. But there's ways to talk around those things and ways to mitigate them, and we'll talk about that. And at the end of the presentation, our hope really is that you'll be able to apply some of the knowledge. Also, feel free to reach out to questions. We're happy to answer them. There's a number of CEDIA members in most of the US, if you're calling in from the US here, who are able to help you and are certified in this type of work. So what are the systems and technologies that we're looking to hide? They really are anything that is tied to a network component. So that carries everything from entertainment, so televisions, audio systems particularly that are distributed throughout a home in multiple zones, lighting systems, as well as climate control and energy control systems. So it's very broad type of work that an integration company does. When we're looking to hide technology, we're really looking at all these different systems and what are ways that we can design. Maybe, for example, if you're looking at lighting, how can we design a sensor in a room that is frequently visited at night so that the client doesn't have to flip on a switch? They just walk in and the accent lighting comes on right at the right level. That's a good example of it. So as we look at the system and technologies, they're everything from basic audio systems, multi-control, televisions, video walls, dedicated home theaters, and as well as comfort systems and power systems, as I mentioned. So it's very, very broad. If it looks like technology, it's probably something that an integration company like us has touched or works with. And we really like to look at, when we're building and designing homes with architects and interior designers in particularly, is we're trying to figure out what is that design preference of the client and the designer. Are they a minimalist type of design? Are they looking for something that is more modern contemporary or traditional? And as we're looking to scope the technology, all those systems I mentioned in the previous slide, we're really looking to say, how do we meet that aesthetic? And in some cases, it is, I don't want to see it. And so that's what today's course really is about. Feel free to stop and ask questions, by the way. This is absolutely can be interactive. We also have Monica on our team who is monitoring the chat here, and she'll write a hello there. Feel free to ask questions or provide comments there. We can absolutely have two-way dialogue. If you've got a situation you want to bring up, happy to talk about it live here. So our three-pronged approach around hiding technology, as I mentioned, is camouflaging it. So 3 C's: camouflaging it, concealing it, and consolidating it. So what does that mean? So camouflaging technology means that we literally are looking to hide it within the actual room. So for a real example, if we look at this room, there's a variety of different ways we can camouflage technology. If we're looking at audio systems, for example, if you think of in-ceiling architectural speakers, which are tied to amplifiers and provide a nice level of music for this living space here, you can either have speakers that are very small, that minimize the ceiling. You can also have speakers that are completely invisible behind the drywall. Now, a lot of people will ask, well, okay, if you are taking audio and you're putting it behind the drywall, it must not sound great, right? It actually sounds fantastic. If you're looking at like the good quality brands doing a phenomenal job engineering products. So you can now have audio within a room without even seeing speaker grills or other products that are there. You can also look at camouflaging things like lighting fixtures. So lighting fixtures nowadays, essentially with the LED technology, are computers in the ceiling. And they no longer need to be 6 or 8 inch cans in the ceiling. They can be as small as 1 inch or 2 inches. This is an example of a square trim that is part of a smaller LED lighting fixture. So that's a great way to take what would be if you walked into a room and you saw lines of cans on the ceiling, taking that and leveraging a better LED technology that has a smaller footprint on the ceiling, able to provide the right amount of light in the right amount of spaces, and making sure you're having something that's called a quiet ceiling, which is a ceiling that doesn't have a whole bunch of round architectural speakers or lighting fixtures in the actual ceiling. Some other places, as you look at this room, you see that there is no television that is visible here. And there may in fact be no television, but we do know that there is a television here. Televisions can be hidden in a variety of different places and camouflaged in different places. Some of the more popular ways to camouflage televisions are through having them look like artwork. So if you've seen products where the television is on the wall and there's a very nice frame around it and it's got a digital piece of art on it, that is probably one of the most popular ways to camouflage televisions and screens. We'll talk a little bit more about concealing screens, which is actually completely hiding them on the next slide. There's a lot of different capabilities there. So within here, you can see it's a very clean look. There is technology in this room. There is comfort control. There is audio control, there is a visual element to it. They're able to essentially control their entertainment and their comfort all within this space without looking like they have a bunch of large speakers or items on the wall that are supposed to be controlled. It's very clean. So that's how you camouflage technology. Concealment. Concealment is really a magical thing in that this is where it is absolutely not visible. So if you can think of the television on the left-hand side of this particular view here, you see that that's a television that has actually been built in as part of the construction and design process into the ceiling with a special motorized mount that at the press of a button or a voice command, if that's what the client likes, the television will come down and be visible right out of the ceiling. On the other side, you can see a method of concealing the television that is coming up from the foot of the bed. And this is motorized mounts. These can be custom made into cabinets. And it either can be a cabinet if you have somebody who is building out the cabinet, where a company like us will source the right mechanics and motorized mount in order to make it fit and be seamless in that cabinet. Or there's actually furniture pieces that have television lifts built in. So those are two of the most popular options for concealing televisions. Now, you might have a room that isn't a bedroom, and maybe it has, instead of a television, it has a screen. We also can conceal screens either in near the ground or most commonly in the ceiling. Much like the television here, there would be essentially a strip, if you can think of it, at the back of that wall, where at a press of a button, the screen rolls down and the screen is available. Same thing with a projector that also can be motorized and concealed up in a ceiling. Some of the other things you can do, we talked about televisions, but for audio systems, so sound for this television or in other rooms, I mentioned earlier, you can absolutely conceal those speakers or subwoofers, which provide the bass in an audio system. You can conceal them in the ceiling. For subwoofers, you can conceal them in the ceiling, in the wall, in between joists, or also in the floorboard. So there are a variety of different products that are engineered to completely be invisible. And they perform very, very well. It does not impact the quality of the sound, and you can't see them at all. So that's really a fantastic way to hide the audio portion of it. So that's what concealment, that's the concept of concealment. We'll go into that a little bit more as well. And then lastly, our third C is consolidation. And consolidation just means taking all of these disparate things, right, and making sure we have one interface. So if we look at control systems, for example, everybody has got an app, right? So oftentimes we'll meet clients or interior designers, architects, and they'll have 5 or 6 apps on their phone controlling their home or their business or their property, right? And that is a lot to manage, right? So that is the opposite of consolidation. So when we're designing for really hiding technology in the home and making sure that we're providing a sophisticated experience, we're designing around one app. So how do you do that? You do that through really working with companies like us who understand the interoperability of different brands and how they can be consolidated into, maybe it's one remote or one touch panel or one app on the phone. And you really do that through that design process, kind of similar to what I talked about earlier, is understanding what is that experience aiming to achieve in that particular space, and how do we take all these different systems, whether it be temperature control, lighting, motorized shades, audio systems, televisions, how do you get that magic to happen where it's all in one interface for the client that everybody in the home can use? That's really what our goal is. So consolidation and looking at that technique really helps us do that. I'll say also that consolidation and lighting controls is one of the most powerful ways you can help get to that end goal of a sophisticated smart home. Many of us have seen where you might be looking at wall controls and there might be banks of 4 to 6 dimmers on that wall in the kitchen or in different rooms, right? Controlling all these different loads, and nobody knows, what controls what. It might be Wi-Fi connected, but there's a variety of them there, right? So through designing around consolidation, you can take that same bank of 4 to 6 switches and instead design around a keypad which, can be engraved. This one says bright, entertain, movie, and off. So if you can envision this keypad in a space like this, instead of having 4 to 6 switches on a wall, instead, what you're controlling on the wall is, at the press of a button, an experience. And that experience might not only control the lighting loads in the room, but it might also control some of the other systems. So if you can envision on a control perspective, the entertain button here, I would envision if that were pressed, perhaps the lights come down to a lower level, maybe a little bit of a warmer Kelvin temperature for this space. Let's pretend it's evening here and we're entertaining, right? And this button may also queue up an entertaining playlist that's playing through the audio speakers at the right volume level that will allow for conversation to be happening while people are entertaining. So experience-centric controls really start early in the design process. I would say it's before the rough-in stage on building a new home or doing a remodel, because we have to think about how are all these lighting loads being, where are they running to, how are they designed. And in a setting where we used to have a lot of 2-ways and 3-ways and 4-ways, we don't need that anymore. We don't need a lot of switches. What we really need is a consolidated approach for apps, lighting controls, other things, so that people can just have less stuff on the wall or on their phone. Do you have a question? Yes, Sandra.
All I wanted to say is that when they're designing this, they might want to talk to the architect and see if they're putting intelligent toilets, if they're putting in showers, because all of them have to connect to the Wi-Fi. And what we're finding is when we go and do homes, like the plumbers don't know how to do the connecting to it. So lots of times, we're just going out just to do the Kohler Connect feature or to do it. So you might want to at least, when you're talking to who the builder is or the architect, find out if they are going to be using intelligent products, because that needs to tie in as well, because they have everything, the apps and stuff on their phone for this music and this and this and that, but they might be able to consolidate everything. So my thing is just to tell them, to at least have a conversation with the architect and see if they're going to have, those kind of products as well. So because Kohler came out with a whole slew of new ones, and they're doing a minimalistic approach on the showers, like they're only doing an anthem valve that is doing everything there. So then it's got to connect somewhere. But I just wanted to say they ought to talk to them as well.
Yeah, I love that you brought that up. And actually, we saw an Anthem product at a walkthrough last week, and it was the first time I'd actually seen that more minimalist shower control. I thought they had one of the DTV systems, and they had actually something else, which was a lot more minimalist.
Right, and that's exactly the new one out there that no one knows. Every time they go and connect it, they don't know what they're connecting to, and it's like, okay, so we come in and we help connect it, but they're trying to do that everywhere, and they're also enhancing the intelligent toilets to do more things, and also they're also trying to push that they have a brand new product that is like to make a really cold shower. Did you see that? A cold bathtub?
No.
Oh yeah. At the KB thing, they introduced that they're having, you know how they have the cold plunge? Now they're doing
Yes.
cold plunge in bathtubs and showers. And so they're connecting to a lot of things in order to do that. That's all I wanted to
Yeah,
bring
no,
up.
it's a great ad because we hadn't talked about bathrooms and plumbing, and there's been so many advancements in the last 5 years. The Kohler stuff is a great example of that. And they absolutely are helping hide a lot of the controls that used to be in place for toilets and showers and tubs, right? And they are being digitized. So I think that's a great call out to make sure that, yeah. And I'll also mention, related to that, a lot of those plumbing products now that are smart, one of the best ways to make sure that you're making sure that product gets updated, if it has the option to hardwire it with Cat6 back to the network so that the software updates, believe it or not, we now have software updates for our toilets and showers and things like that, right? That's not relying on Wi-Fi. That is going to either fail over the air or some other way. So I think making sure that you hardwire to those locations to make sure that you've got internet there is really important.
Right. That's a good thing for the architects because they don't know that. Like
No.
I didn't even know that. So thank you for telling me that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So inside technology, we've also got outside technology. So same thing, like lighting controls, audio distribution. Think about lighting, right? Thinking about being in this backyard and really enjoying this space with friends and family. And so within the context of here, you can see that there's a very minimalist design with the lighting. There's not a lot of large lighting cans in the ceiling. The audio is tucked. You can see that there's some mounted audio products that are on the header of this overhang. But there's a lot of product that's actually built into the landscape here that really marries with the nature around this beautiful space. So whether it be products that are landscaped in, audio and lighting products, for example, or in the same case of here, you might have a television outside, which is outdoor weather rated. Perhaps this television, much like the bedroom, right, comes out of a stone slab and lifts up at a command or at a scene. So some of the thoughts here, really everything that applies for those tactics inside, camouflage, concealment, and consolidation, absolutely apply to outdoor technology as well. We're going to talk a little bit about, we're going to roll up our sleeves and kind of talk a little bit about how this sort of happens within the remodel or new build stage. It requires a lot of planning. Mostly where the architectural plans and the client and designers that are working on the project to really make sure that from a timing perspective on that project, we're going to be able to remote locate all of the hardware and equipment that powers all of this technology. So it used to be, if you can remember, maybe 10, 15 years ago, people would have stacks of audio equipment or giant televisions that are rear projecting, right? Really kind of big pieces of technology, black boxes, a lot of black boxes everywhere. So with proper planning, what we can do is we can really work on hiding that technology, but we need to do it really early in the rough end stage to make sure. So in this case, what you're seeing is you've got 2 in-ceiling architectural speakers that have been pre-wired. Now, the important note on the remote location is that those wires are likely going to some sort of media cabinet that might be in a basement or in a closet somewhere that is located for all of the wires to be essentially home run to. So instead of having localized little control systems in each of the room, we're running everything back to a centralized rack. And that keeps our technology hidden. It's also much easier to service should it need service. In this scenario, you're also seeing some cutouts that are happening. So you can see there's some infrastructure there. So that could be a variety of different things. It could be in-wall speakers, likely. And when you're looking at this space, the lighting as well here, you can see the lights are much smaller than 6-inch cans, right? They're smaller, closer to 2 to 4-inch cans that they have in the ceiling. So as you look to drive continued hiding of technology, one of the things you can do is actually just eliminate things. And eliminating technology means that you don't have those 4 to 6 apps, right? It means that you don't have the 6 banks of switches on the wall. You've got one. You're eliminating things and consolidating so that your space can be more beautiful. In this case, this is a good example we talked about earlier, which is instead of a TV here, you can see that this is a movie screen that is actually coming down from the soffit there, down at the foot of the bed. And the projector is in the upper right-hand corner. Also, you can see here that this actually has motorized shades that are behind it because you want, if you're in a room where you've got a projector, you'd like the room to be as dark as possible so that your screen appears as good as it can be. So through planning, we can hide motorized roller shades up into soffits, and we can pair them with things like motorized drapes in this case. All kind of around that one app control, that seamless experience that we're looking to provide as we hide the television. Some of you may have heard of, we call them frame TVs. There's a few different brands. They are all over the place now. They've become very, very popular. We also have custom frames that are available that can fit around a standard television. And the artwork that's available is typically subscription-based, but you can also, in many cases, load your own pictures and things like this. And through having really a flat type of install, and that doesn't happen by accident. Typically, there's a back box in the back of these televisions that has been pre-constructed in that holds things like HDMI cables, or if it's a streaming stick for a television, the power, so that that television can really be as flush as possible to the actual wall, or in this case, there's also a fireplaces here. So that really is done through that. And frame TVs are a fantastic way to be able to create a nice experience and not have that black box on the wall. It can be your artwork. This looks a little scary. Data AV room, don't be scared. This is the type of work that integration companies like ours do. And in this case, it's very kind of spread out. There's a centralized control system here. There's all sorts of things you might not recognize. Typically in a data AV room, you could have them wall mounted, but they're typically in a rack, enclosed in a rack that provides cooling. And the things that we centralize and put there in order to get to this hidden technology element really are things like amplifiers that drive the passive speakers in the ceiling. Those need to be powered by amplifiers. So we centralize them all to the AV room. We also centralize the network components, so the router, switches, things like that, right into that rack. And then we wire for access points throughout the home and outside to make sure that there's good connectivity for, you know, whether it be a Kohler shower or some other product, the lighting control system, so that people have the access that they expect to have in today's modern world to the internet and the capability to control things. That also goes in the data AV room. And then we also have things like traditional AV receivers. If there's a home theater in the house, we would put those in the data rack. We would also put control systems, those systems that essentially take the multiple apps and put it into one interface for the client. That is in the data room, all nice and neat in typically in a one rack location. So you have a question?
Henry.
Hi, Henry.
Hello. You all right?
I'm here. How are you?
I'm all right, thank you. Just a quick one. First of all, it's really an exciting topic presentation. The only problem is that trying to make houses smarter and everything. First of all, I live in the UK and it's a bit tricky with bees. and the biz, it keeps increasing every day because I did immediately to a bit of my house matter, and which I use my voice to control my TV, socket, light, and everything. But I just noticed that the bill increased, and it was a funny one. So, and I was being skeptical about continuing to do more about it because I really have many more I wanted to do, but still, as I mentioned, it's about the bees now. So, how do you go about something about that nature?
So, thank you. Good question. So you've got a smart home started. You're pretty far along, and you're looking to add components to it, but the costs have gone up. Is that sort of what you're saying? What's that? Yes, he's nodding. Oh, yes, he's nodding.
Yes,
I can see the nodding. Monica's telling me.
Yeah, that's correct. The cost of the bees have gone up. I know.
Yes, they've gone up, right? So I think that as you look at, do you have a single control system, or do you have a couple different apps together?
I have two apps.
Okay.
Everything.
Okay, got it. That's not too bad. That's better than 6. So I think that some of what my advice would be if you have the infrastructure already in place, so the wiring already in place, you can stage that investment in. If the wiring is not in place and it's an existing structure, that's where things get a lot more costly. So are you in a new, is it a new construction, or is it an existing building in the UK?
It's on existing one anyway.
Those are tough. You know, I think that one of the challenges when it's not a new construction, which is most houses, right? Like I'm in New England, there's new building here, but I mean, a lot of the structures are in place and people want to make their home smart. And if the wiring isn't there, you know, you're really looking at almost like a 30% premium over a new build because people need to fish wires, right? So I would say, you know, for you, depending upon what categories you're looking to add, that's where the price is going up. If you can look at the hardware, the labor kind of is the labor, right? You could go with cheaper labor, but you're going to want to make sure that the materials they use are right and that they're licensed and they know what they're doing, right? So you do want to make sure you pay for that good service. But the hardware that's attached to that, as you're building it, there typically are multiple lines at different price points, and not all of them have been affected by tariffs or have had increases or things like that that you might see happening in the electronic space right now. So that would be my advice would be, you know, so for example, if it's like a speaker system, just know if you're being presented 1 or 2 options, there are probably 10. So it might be that you're going to get a more performance that's a better value for you without breaking the bank.
All right.
I hope that helps.
Yeah,
I mean, and I'm happy to help you after the call too. If there's particular specifics, I could give you some advice on maybe some brands or some things to think about, so that you can get your full home benefit.
All right. Thank you so much. It really do help anyway. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thanks for asking a question. It was great. So data AV room, this is where everything is really centralized. So at the end of the day, HVAC controls, music, architectural lighting, surveillance, security cameras, TV, media room, window treatments, access control, lighting, and really tying all that together with whole home control is able to be accomplished through really planning early on in the process, making sure that you've got, if you want a centralized control system where you've got 1 app, or like Henry, if you have 2 apps, making sure that you're working with, I think it's helpful to work with a CDA professional, because CDA professionals are working with all the different brands all the time and are always trying to figure out, how do I make XYZ happen with certain brands, and how do I do it in a way that's really seamless? So, we could all use the internet and try to figure out what works with what, but as you guys know, it takes a long time. And as professionals, that's what we do for a living. So do definitely reach out to a CEDIA professional if you want really a one app experience, because they can really help guide you in that process and make sure you understand what your options are so that you don't end up with 4 to 6 apps that are there. Seamless control. So as we just tie this course together, at the end of the day, you can have 500 things in your home. You can have 100 things in your home that are connected to the internet, right? But at the end of the day, if there's only one person who can use it in the house, that's probably not a great experience for all the people in the house. Unless that person lives alone, then it's okay, right? But ideally, someone's able to walk into the space and be able to queue up a scene that really cues up the lighting, the temperature control, the audio, all the different systems you want to be able to control just like that at the press of a button, or in this case, there's a touch screen on the wall. Perhaps it's a quick touch on the touch screen to run a scene and have everything happen at once and not be pulling up the phone, pulling up this app, that app in order to get what you want accomplished. So seamless control, as we're looking at that, we're really looking at things like designing lighting controls that serve multiple purposes so that we can make sure that people can turn the entire, this one's got off, the magic of an off button, right? So just one button that turns everything off. That's the type of seamless control you want to get to as you're designing smart homes. And it can be through voice, it can be through wall controls or touch screens or smartphones, or in this case, this is a smart remote, which takes all the different streaming apps, whether it be Netflix, Hulu, Amazon Prime, all the different things, and puts it on one little interface so that you can get right to whatever you want to really quickly. The control piece of it is really the bow on top of all of this hidden technology. You can spend a whole lot of money hiding speakers and doing all sorts of stuff. But at the end of the day, if the control portion of the experience isn't good, it's not really going to be enjoyed as much as it should. So this is, I think, probably one of the most important slides is really having a design-centric approach to seamless control and making sure we're not hodgepodging things together. We call those things, in our business, we call it a Frankenhome, which is like a Frankenstein type of home when you have all these different things kind of podged together that really don't provide a great control experience. Couple more slides here. This is hidden in plain sight. We've got in this particular room, there are hidden speakers that are concealed behind the drywall. So you can tell, you can't even see them, but the speakers sound fantastic. You don't see any large pieces of controls on the wall. It's a very kind of clean look. In this case, they do have the black television on the wall. There's a variety of different ways you can essentially hide that television, whether it be something that's built out in front of it or motorized, or whether or not it's more of a frame TV type of look where it looks like artwork. And that is pretty much it. I just wanted to mention CEDIA, the nonprofit organization, cedia.net is what you'd want to visit. It's a great organization, and we've been members for many years. And there's a lot of good information there if you want white papers or additional learning. We teach courses like this once a month. So integrated lighting controls, smart power, extending technology out, all about outdoor technology. So you can take a look at the CEDIA website or reach out to us if you want to learn more and collect more CEUs. That is the Hidden Technology in the Home course. I want to thank you all for joining today, and thank you for people who asked questions. Definitely open to more conversations. If people have a project or another piece where they're looking for some more guidance and insight, we're happy to provide it. And stay tuned to our course next month, which is integrated lighting controls. All right, so if we don't have any other questions, we'll wrap up.
Oh, can I just say one? Excellent class. That's all I wanted to tell you. It was good because you know what I liked? It like put it all together because that's where I wasn't really sure about. But it's good because now you make me want to build a new home.